It really is a choice. And we can do that. So, where challenges are going to come. Professional, personal, social, it's coming. Not coming, it's here. It's here. So what do we decide to do? Now, I always say, resilience can be a launching pad. There are so many things that we can, we should, and we would do oftentimes if we didn't have that comfortable environment that we just felt like we didn't have to work too hard in. You know, I'm on coast, and this is a good thing, but, I really would like to do something else. Well, guess what? Sometimes life will shake you out of your comfort zone in order for you to be the best that you should and could and have every right to be. So I am encouraging us to look at change as a motivator. Because sometimes, again, we as women, and my husband says, oh, you're going to give one of your women roar speech, okay? I said, no, honey. Well, y'all, he said, I'm all about the cheering and the women, okay? That's children for people who don't know. Cheering. You love the cheering. I do. I love the cheering. And I love men, too, Mr. Goldman, okay? I love men. I always say, whenever there's one lone man in the audience, it might be rough on you today, but I love men, okay? I do. And I mean, when we think about all the things, ladies, that we have done, that you have done already to this point, there's very little reason, no, if any, there's no reason for us to be fearful about tomorrow. Absolutely none. When we think about the things many of us went through as children, think about many our adolescent years, going to college, the things you're dealing with today. But oftentimes, when we get in the professional environment, we tend to downplay those skills that are so valuable. The skills that we've used to manage homes, that we've used to manage community activities, we've used to manage church functions. Somehow, when we get in the professional setting, we minimize the value of those skills. And we don't need to do that. We don't need to do that. Ladies, understanding how to be resilient means, first of all, understand you got it covered. Let me just say, you have it covered. Now we're going to figure out the plan to execute it, that you have it covered. First thing we need to be aware. Okay? There's some changes coming. There's some changes coming in my job. Some people may not be here tomorrow. You might say also economics. My family financial situation may be changing, so you have to be aware of the situation. And I've sometimes been accused, people say, well, you're just kind of Pollyanna-ish, well, everything's going to be great. No, I'm not Pollyanna-ish. I'm not. I understand that life has challenges. I understand that we can overcome those challenges. I also have understood and experienced that if we will have a positive attitude about it, first of all, that gives you more energy to solve your problems. That draws good people to you. So we're going to be aware. We're going to recognize we might have some work in front of us. Things might change. You might have to cut out the cable. Okay? I doubt that. Okay? But we might have some challenges. So you may have to make some life changes. But being aware and approaching from a positive attitude is so important. And then understanding it's inevitable. We've already talked about that. Change is inevitable. Change in our family lives. My baby she's 31 years old. I always say I have one birth daughter who will be 32 this year. And I always wanted 3 girls. And when I got married to my husband, he blessed me with 2 more girls. And thank God I didn't even have to do the teen years with him. Okay? But so I have my 3 girls. And it's so important. When I talk to them, I have mentor/mom meetings. And now, sometimes, now they're a little older, they think, this lady might know a few things. Now, before they didn't want to hear anything from me. I had to call somebody else. Would you tell Nettie to do this and do that? They don't want to hear anything from me. But now they're getting better. But I talked to them about not globalizing the issue. Now, that's one of the number one reasons people end up depressed. We globalize the issue. Now, what I mean by that, you take one problem that's going on maybe in your workplace. Oh, and Lord, everything's terrible. Lord, my life is ending. This is horrible. Okay? Or you gain 5 pounds and you want to jump off of a building. No. Don't globalize the issues, ladies. Please. Okay? So you may have some challenges at your job. You may need to lose some weight. But we tend to globalize it and then color everything with that brush. And then it makes it difficult for us to deal with that issue. It makes it difficult for people to understand how to help us because you made everything bad. Okay? It's hard for me to help you in that way, and it's also hard for us to help ourselves. So, ladies, please, let's not globalize. Let's focus on the problem at hand. And guess what? We can't solve every problem at every minute. Pick one, solve it. Go to the next one. Okay? Then the next thing. Having an internal locus of control, that, I'm in Alabama, so I can say this. I have to be politically correct in all these places I go to. But for me, that's my spiritual life. You have to be grounded because everything is subject to change. So you have to have that something in you that is unchanging. And for me, that's my relationship with God. And then acceptance of responsibility. Okay, so things are going to change. It could get bad in the situation. Am I just going to sit here and let it happen and not think about what Pamela can do to help her situation be better? And let's think about how would we handle that if it were one of our children? Sometimes we need to be a friend to ourselves and do the things for ourselves that we would do for other people. And I sit and say, Lord, how should I view this situation if I were talking to my beautiful daughter? So I'd say, baby, you need to accept some responsibility. You need to understand that these things are going to happen. These are the things beyond your control, but there's a huge area here that you have influence and control over. And I'm asking and encouraging you to do that because your future depends on it. And your daily happiness depends on it. And again, I want us to be happy. We don't need to wait until this happens and that happens and that happens for us to be happy. I believe in celebrating small things. My daughter says, I'll have a dinner party for any reason. Oh, good. You made an A on your test. Let's have a dinner party. Let's invite everybody over. Life should be celebrated. So accept the responsibility, not just to be the one that's in charge of your future, and I'm going to talk a little bit more about that, but also for your happiness, and then positive social relationships. Now, I'm very, very blessed to have so many good people around me. And I try to be a good person to be around as well. Make sure you have good people around you. And some people say, well, you know, my family's negative. Well, there's very little we can do about our family. But in any case, you can't divorce. I mean, don't go to home divorce. Your husband said, this woman said, since I need positive people around me, you're not one, I'm through with you. That's not at all. That's not at all what I'm saying. But have those positive people around you and then ask for help. Now, many of us have I'm woman, hear me roar syndrome. So I can handle it. I can handle the kids. I'm going to pick them up from school. I'm going to get them to dance class. I'm going to have dinner ready. Okay. Then I'm going to be ready to talk to mom on the phone, make sure everything's okay with her and dad. And because you're the superstar daughter. So everybody's counting on you to get everything done. Okay. And if you don't, we can't possibly let anybody down. Okay. We can't. So then you fall into bed. Okay. Growl at your husband if he thinks about looking your direction. Okay. Hop up the next morning. Rush to work, get the kids up, get them to work. And ladies, sometimes we need to ask for help. It's healthy. You don't have to have an S on your chest. You don't. And I've learned my husband can unload the dishwasher. Now it's going to be jacked up the way he puts the dish in the cabinet. I still don't like the way he folds the towels, but at least it gets done. Ask for some help. And it may not be exactly the way you want it, but it gets done. And then I hope and pray that we really will start to see ourselves as winners. Now, I want to say just a little bit more about this. I had a good Baptist upbringing, and thank the Lord for it. But that taught you better just see yourself as humble. No, Jesus is the only one that's valuable. Don't you know, you weak worm of the dust? And it took me a few years. I was an adult before I realized it was healthy for me to feel good about me. I'm special. I'm wonderful. I have many weaknesses, many challenges, many things I'm working on every day. But I'm all right. In fact, I'm pretty dadgum good. And we need to say that to ourselves. We do. Now, let me say this. Excuse me, Mr. Goldman. Men have no problem with that. None. Okay? But we're taught to be sweet and meek and humble in many instances. And that's why so many women tend to rebel and say, well, feminine, and so they go the other direction. Well, no, I'm not. Be you. The best thing you can be is you. If yours is being gruff and tough and getting out there with the fellas, be that. But if yours is being meek and mild, be that. But no matter what, know how valuable you are. No, you are something awfully special. Awfully special. And so being resilient, how do we become more resilient? Just in case you're one of those people who maybe haven't had a lot of challenges. I haven't met many people who haven't had many challenges, particularly who are in the positions you are. So, but if you haven't, one of the things that I found is very valuable in terms of having resilience is have a sense of purpose. Okay, now, my purpose, my cousin always says my gift is encouragement because I love to encourage people, but it comes very naturally to me. But finding that sense of purpose, whatever it is for you, whether it's saving the whales, whether it's teaching you little children how to read, so find that sense of purpose, something that is more than you. And that, for me, has been a very great source of resilience. Then establish goals, plans, and a schedule. Now, I had a head start on this. As I said, my dad was a drill sergeant, so we had to have goals. You had to have a plan. I'm like, Daddy, I'm in 7th grade. What I need a plan for? Write this damn plan down. Yes, sir. Okay, and we had a plan. We had a plan and we had a schedule. Okay, actively build positive belief in yourself. And again, this is not something that we are taught to do. And in many respects, we live in a negative society. So if you look at the news, so much negativity. But start thinking about your positives. And I'm going to talk a little bit more about that later. And then brand you. We're going to talk about brand you, keeping a positive attitude and understanding things are not personal. And then taking care of yourself. And finally, don't quit. I mean, that's just simple as it is. Now, a few years ago, I read a book by Martha Beck called Finding Your Own North Star. One of the most awesome books I ever read. And it really got me to thinking, what do I really want? How do I want to do it? What difference do I want to make? And it was very important at that time for me to read that book because I'd applied to become an astronaut in 94, and I wasn't selected, but I made it to Houston, got the interview, and everyone's like, oh, Pam, they're going to pick you. Oh, you're an engineer, and, I talk to people. Oh, my God, they're going to pick you. Well, so then I didn't get